Let's move into main topic number 1. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Kyle, who writes, "Hey, John. So it looks like the DC app is becoming more irrelevant after seeing yet another exclusive in the form of the great yet canceled Swamp Thing show will now be playing its entire series on the CW. Of course, this entire series was only one season. Why bother getting this app? Because it appears the ship is sinking for it." All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, you know what, Rob, you and I have been talking about for the last little while as more and more of these, what were supposed to be DC exclusive shows, are now also playing on other networks. Of course, Stargirl is going to be playing on other networks. We just saw that Harley Quinn is going to start playing on Sci-Fi and others. The latest in the round of that is the very short-lived series, but was pretty darn good, actually, Swamp Thing. This report comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter that says, Swamp Thing, starring Crystal Reed and based on the DC title of the same name, will become the second DC Universe series to air on the CW, joining Stargirl, whose episodes will debut on the linear network a day after they launch on the streamer. The network is a joint venture between the DC Universe backers Warner Brothers and TV studio CBS TV Studios. All right, so what do we got here? Well, the first thing we should clarify is this. Some people got kind of excited when they heard these reports coming out because they thought that meant that CW was going to do a season 2 of Swamp Thing. And I'll admit that was kind of my first impression as well. But as I looked more into it, it at least appears that that's not the case. It seems like what the reality is right now is that this is just them taking the season that exists as it is, and they're just going to put it on CW. Which is actually not a bad move for CW when you think about it, because they've got nothing new to show and they don't have anything in production right now. If they can actually pick up a series that a lot of people haven't seen yet and give themselves some more on-air content, it's a pretty good move. It's a pretty good move on their part. But Rob, it brings up the question again. If all this stuff that was supposedly and supposed to be exclusive and made for DC Universe, the streaming service they have, why does it even still exist? And Rob, I know we've kind of speculated that once HBO Max really gets rolling, because a lot of this stuff is going to be over there, including a show I'm very, very excited about, is going to be over there. It just seems to me that it is inevitable that the DC Universe streaming app is just going to get folded into HBO Max. Yes, there are the digital comics you can read on there, but that's not what the main platform is meant to be. So I don't know, Rob, you hear about this whole thing. What do you make of it?
Well, it's quite interesting because they haven't really said anything about what's happening to the DC Universe app. I mean, there's been nothing, zero. So I would just assume that, look, who knows? What if the Swamp Thing does really well in the ratings and maybe they bring it back, for a second season? It was a really beautifully made show. I really liked it. And I thought that, why are you stopping the show? You remember when they put the kibosh on it, like one episode had aired or something.
Yeah.
And it was like, what? And I know I had friends that were working on the show and everybody was sort of blindsided by it. And there was a lot of great work that went into it. I think, one, kudos to the CW for picking it up. It was announced, of course, this morning that Doom Patrol is coming back, obviously, on HBO Max on June 25th. So
excited for that.
I know, right? And it's these were great shows. And to see them get this kind of exposure, I mean, how many people are now going to be able to see Swamp Thing that didn't see it before? I mean, you didn't have to have an app. Now it's going to be on free broadcast television. You could have 10 times the audience in one shot than you did ever. And then what if it became? I would love this if it became a hit. So I think it's great that these shows are breaking free. The HBO Universe, the DC Universe app, I don't think ever penetrated like they wanted it to, even though I was a fan of what they did with it. And I just think that HBO Max, which is sort of consuming all of these other platforms, it's a great idea. It's a one-stop shop. You're going to be able to go and get everything that you need or everything that you want. And if they can broaden the appeal and broaden the viewership of these shows, more power to them. I'm really excited about this.
I think it's a really interesting move. Guys, question is, Did you guys ever watch Swamp Thing? I find that most people that watch it actually quite enjoy. I was very late to the party. It was better than I thought it was going to be. What do you think about this move to CW? Do you have optimism like Rob does that maybe it becomes a hit on CW and maybe they decide, all right, after all, we did see a brief Swamp Thing cameo at the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. I'm just throwing that out there. What do you guys think? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right.